You are not a mistake, you are created. Really simple, you did not come from gloop that came from, well, let's face it, nobody's given us a proper answer yet that says where the gloop even came from. You were created by God on a purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose, created. And God creates all things. In Colossians 1, verse 16 and 17, for by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible, invisible, whether thrones or powers, rulers or authorities, all things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So that's everything. That's not just the physical matter of atoms. Actually, it's all the powers, all the organizations, every single part of everything God created. He didn't just set these things in motion and say, here's the basic building blocks for life. Actually, God was involved in every single aspect of everything. Everything that was, he did. In John 1, verse 3, through him all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. Nothing. You know, when you think you've created something, yeah, God. He created it, and he created the bits that you've got, then gave you the abilities to be able to do it, then taught you how to do it, then made the physics work so that it could actually work and happen, and made it function with all the chemical reactions and everything else that you did. At the end of the service today, you're going to have the opportunity to eat some cake. Who made it? God. Because he enabled the flour and the egg and everything else to work together, to bind together, to create those chemical reactions that made it work, and then gave us taste buds to be able to enjoy it. Angel cake. It's not quite angel cake, Pastor Ian, it's okay. And this is another part of creation that we often don't like. In Genesis 1, verse 31, God saw all that he has made, and it was very good. Very good. Sometimes we want to say that there's mistakes in creation. There might be anomalies of things that I don't quite understand, but in the middle of it all, God says, I created it for a purpose, with a plan, and it's very good in the center of God's plan. God's creation was on purpose. There's nothing that exists without him, and he created all things. Me and you are not a mistake. We're created. We are created for a purpose. The situation that you're in is not just a sequence of random events. It's something that God created, knows about, and has a plan for you from right where you're at now. I'm really glad that the chair that you're sat on was created. Because if it wasn't, and it was just a random collection of building blocks that just appeared magically out of the earth and atomized together and created the chair that you're sat on, you might not sit on it in quite the same way. So I'm really glad that God creates things like chairs. But I'm more glad that God created things like you and me that are so much bigger than anything else. See, you're not a case of random chance. Actually, you were designed, built, engineered for a purpose for God. Do you know the world that you live in was created by God? The air that you breathe was created by God with just the right balance of all the things in it that you need. God even created the gravity on our earth because it sustains life and holds water and allows the whole of that water cycle to function that allows life to happen. He decided that the earth was going to spin on an axis just like this, at just the right rotation, in just the right way to give us seasons. And we're going to be just this far away from the sun. It's not a sequence of random events. It was a purposeful, brilliant creation. And God created you. Not a mistake. A purpose being for a purpose. Those natural abilities and that DNA that you've got in you and those passions that you've got are created for a purpose. Find that created purpose. I want to give you 4 points in the middle of this one that says, finding your creative purpose. And they go like this. Number 1, your purpose is to know God. It's not to do your abilities that you think you've got. Your first purpose is to know God. Your second purpose is to love God. Your third purpose is to worship God. And only actually after you've known God, loved God, and worshiped God can you start to do God's plans for your life. Because so many people just want to do their plans for their life and they don't even know God. They don't want to love God, and then they don't want to worship God. You've got to put those three in place before you can really start to fulfill the plans that God has got for you. So your purpose as a created person: first, know God. Second, love God. Third, worship God. Then fulfill his plans. Don't forget your created purpose. So if God created you, how do you live your life based on the fact that God created you? Stop trying to say that things are a mistake and start to say, thank you, God, you've got a plan for me. And I'm going to follow it, I'm going to walk in it, I'm going to remind myself, and I'm going to live differently today and every day because God created me, and I've understood it and I've thought about it.